The new format has begun. We have Exosister for you, Majespecter good stuff, some Horus control. Man, I really am loving Light and Darkness Dragon. You guys smash something crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Wow, this is almost quite impressive. We actually have a first place winning Exosister deck, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it has been so long since we have seen working Exosister out here. I actually kind of forgot that this was a deck, and of course you're still sporting off things like Shifter in this. We're still taking advantage of Aratama, Sakitama. Honestly, these little cards right here, being able to, you know, still tutor into Mikhail's, and then you can go down the sub, you know, full Martha combo. I think a lot of people kind of forgot how this deck actually works. And the fact that, you know, you have all of these interactions and the capabilities to do all of this stuff, incredibly easy. Now, for the rest of the deck, I mean, you're still relying on things like the tactical thrust to be able to get you into, you know, your more immediate answers to things, especially things like this. And now that the meta has slowed down to this point, we can actually have Dimensional Fissure here actually kind of assisting us as a walking, talking floodgate. Especially, you know, if your meta is super heavy on the fire side of the equation, things like Dimensional Fissure are going to allow you the chance to slow down the course of the game and make sure that we can keep things going in a nice pace for a deck like this to kind of keep up. You do see that we are playing a mini Sky Striker package in here as well, which is also pretty nice with the Eagle Booster and the Widow Anchor in here, which means you can safely tuck the Magnifica into the EDM so you can have access to this little package. Also, you play enough spells, you might actually be able to get the draw one off of it. I do also like for the thrust here that we are playing a Lightning Storm in here as a little thrust target if we really need to. You have some probably rather unique choices that you can have. Also, you know, being able to thrust on into this for depending on the matchup really kind of gets you some interesting places here. I also see we have one floodgate, two floodgates. All your floodgates that you need is actually pretty covered. I like this. This is pretty good for a first place finish. Now, to the people that have been asking, you know, what are we going to see for Majespecters out here, Robbie? BunbukuYGO has literally every take that you are going to need to see under the sun for Majespecters, all right? Keep that in mind. You have so many people that are going to be challenging, trying to figure out, you know, hey, Unicorn or Karan is back at 1, you know, what do we be able to do? Well, that's where the innovation pile lines come in. This is where you start to decide, you know, hey, do I want to go down this path and so forth. You do see that this build is still doing the Secret Village stuff, which I actually do still like. The fact you have so many spellcasters in here that you're able to access. Hi, good card. Also, what end board do you expect this deck to really end on? Because it's going to be a lot of floating with like a Karan bounce with the possibility of, you know, the Secret Village locking your opponent out. Honestly, that should be about enough to be able to handle the situation that you need to here. The deck's main purpose here is to roll out this with this and then have, you know, the Tempest and the Tornado loaded up. Honestly, this deck might be a very scary deck kind of going on into the new format here. We did see last format that, you know, this is all like pre-Karan though. But the fact that the TCG now has this deck back at full power, well, I guess we still don't have Electromite. So having a rather unique Pendulum deck existing in the course of the game, I think does work out. Your ratios here, very good. I do see, you know, we are playing the Dynamite and the Luster Pendulum here. That's all fine and dandy. And of course, we are playing a Mini Veiler in here, but that's, I see we have our wide arrangement of power cards for the cross out here so we can make sure we're able to do our thing. All right, seems pretty good. Like I said, I want to see this deck be more successful. I think this is a very good start. Oh, now this is what I'm about out here. So to the people that are like, Robbie, you've talked a lot of game. Are we going to finally see you play this? This might actually be a very solid choice for list. I like this list quite a lot. We start playing the Mausoleum with the Light and Darkness Dragons in here. One big thing I do want to say in here is I have enjoyed the sub-discussion about wanting to play Archlord Christian in this deck. Christia is a stupid good card. Christia being able to drop off of the Mausoleum to be able to floodgate your opponent, or, you know, off of the tribute for these cards to make sure you can have that huge walking, talking monster is very, very good. You can also, if you're going to play this deck, you can also play the Big Vanities ruler as well. That way, you know, your opponent can't special summon. The biggest things that are my concern about that, though, are how much value are you going to get off of, you know, having that up? If, you know, we're seeing more hand traps in the format, too, Imperm's just going to tear that card apart. That's why you have things like the Light and Darkness Dragon, whose purpose is to eat up as much of your opponent's resources as you possibly can. And then, you know, after it goes away, you float on into one of these missing pieces out here to kind of make sure you can keep that pressure on your opponent. It's also why I like the Ken Protector in here as well. I do kind of want to play this as more than a 2-up, but this build is already experimenting at 42, which is extremely high, but you do have some access to the shufflers in here. So that is also a pretty big advantage that this build is trying to explore, making sure that, you know, you have access to these cards to kind of help you with some of that. Also, only the 2 Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. 2, I think, is fine. Remember, the effect of this is a once per duel, so having the second copy can be a little bit rough, but the whole purpose is to make sure, you know, we can actually drop it off of this and be able to get that value for the field spell. Awesome. We have Sword Soul today. So, Sword Soul lost to Baron de Flor, which has made this deck like 350% more susceptible to the big giant rock in the sky. I can tell you a lot of the Sword Soul builds that I have seen have just auto-lost to the rock. And I want to be very optimistic. I want to be like, hey, you know, there's a lot more to this than we expected. No, there isn't. Protos is a fantastic addition to the deck because you do have an in-house fire monster that you actually can detonate and be able to take advantage of fire locking your opponent, which is good. But on the sacrifice part of that equation, that means that you're going to have to blow up a boss monster on your field just to be able to get to Protos live to be able to, you know, do that interaction. And it's not really worth it, in my opinion. Sometimes if you're choosing to play this right now, obviously, you're going to have to go down that line. You still are playing your basic Sword Soul ratios in here. This part does not really change at all. You are also chugging through with only, 2 Heavenly Dragon cycles. I think this is fine, honestly. Basically, free value on this, which is good. I do see that we are maximizing on the Sword Soul emergences for your searchability. And extra deck down here, we're still playing the 1 Shaman of the 10 Yi, still maximizing on the monks. Now the Baron's gone. I mean, you have to look at whatever utility or ratios you can actually have access to. You don't have a lot of them anymore. It's a really shame because now that the level 10 toolbox has been siphoned off, it's a little bit rougher. This build's also not playing Psychic End Punisher, which is something that you could possibly explore. You do have, level modulation off of, or one of these gives you level mod. Yeah, it's Emergence. So that's something to kind of consider too. And our last list here, Thunder Dragons with Runic. Okay, so I've seen some of the very early ideas that a friend of mine was testing with this, and then I saw Solemn Circus was posting a list similar to this. I was like, you know, let's talk about this, because being able to roll out a Colossus against your opponent and soft lock them is pretty good. And also, this build is playing a lot more of the combo side of Thunder, where you're aiming to basically take advantage of these pieces, be able to, you know, roll through Kaminari attack into the Colossus, and so forth. Gotta love the value that Instant Fusion gives you. I'm actually surprised this build's not trying things out like the Ready Fusion or something, trying to pop out Kaminari attack. We're also not playing some Summer Summoner, which I don't think you'd really get a lot of free value off of in this build anyway. And of course, the branded cards. These 2 cards, I think, are going to be your best recyclability points to actually maintaining the flow of advantage off of dear old Dubellion here. But it is interesting to see how these 2 engines kind of push together here. And you're making these lines of play, trying to have the super most optimized ratios for what you want. But outside of that, I mean, you got a lot of showcases here. We're heading into a YCS here. I know it's going to be pretty irrelevant elephant, let's be honest here, because you just head on into the next part of the format, and it's like, well, you know, it'll be cool to see branded and things do well, but that's where we're sitting right now. So, what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.